Okay, hello to anyone who's watching this. Today we are going to learn a little about terrains, terrain generation, and why one needs to use terrains in Unity. If you search on Google what exactly is a terrain, it would just give you a Google Translate translation to it being converted into ground. So, terrain can also be called a ground. In Unity, also, terrains are used to replicate the effect of a ground. So, before we get into today's lecture and the practical applications, let's just focus on a couple of assets that we might need to import. The first one is the conifers asset. You need to download all of these. Click on download. The flooded grounds asset, download. Grass and flowers asset pack. The outdoor ground textures pack. Terrain sample asset generation pack, and you need to download all of these. And once these are downloaded, we'll then be importing them. Okay, so while that's being recorded, sorry. Okay, so while that's being downloaded, let's just start with creating a terrain. So in order to create a terrain, go to the hierarchy, then click the plus button, 3D object. Under that, go to terrain and click terrain. It generates a terrain for you. You give it a name. In this case, terrain sounds good, so I'm going to leave it at that. Enter, and you can see that it's pretty big of a 3D object. You can literally take a huge walk along the terrain just to traverse the whole thing. Okay. Now, say that it uh, you say that it feels a little flat to me. Now, the solution to that would be go a little upwards, zoom out a little, yeah, and just start sculpting. Now, what exactly is sculpting? Think of it as creating a statue. In order to create a statue, you need to create certain parts which are raised higher than the other parts and certain parts which are brought lower than the other parts. That's exactly what sculpting is, and that's exactly what we are going to do with our terrain. So in order to sculpt, we are going to go to the inspector section, go to terrain and click on this paintbrush, choose this option raise or lower terrain, and choose the brush that you want. Say that I want to choose this brush and adjust the brush size accordingly. This seems a little too big, so let's go with this. Yep. And just move it accordingly. If you hold for a little longer, this will grow a little taller. The mountains will grow a little taller. If you just click the mouse a little bit, then it will just create a little bit of a hill like shape. Okay, let's try it again, like this. It'll just give it more of a natural effect. Obviously, if we have really big mountains, we don't want to have a really flat surface like a marble floor in someone's house. We don't want that. We want it to look a little bit natural, so that's what we're gonna do. Just making it a little natural. We've all seen the use of terrains at least somewhere in a game. For example, you might have seen it in Far Cry 4 if you've played it, or if you've played any game with uh, a nature like environment, a mountain like environment. In those games, chances are that those mountains would have been made using a terrain, because terrains make it so easy to create highs and lows and ridges and walls, well, natural walls along your subject, and create nature in general. See, just hold it and it'll make the mountain. As simple as that. You don't even need to put any effort. It's just like painting with a paintbrush, just like that. Yep. And once I'm satisfied with this environment, I can just go closer to the environment and see what I want to do. Say that I feel that this needs to be a little more flatter. In order to do that, I just need to shift and click this, and the size will be automatically reduced. Now it's a little too flat, so let's just raise it a little bit, but it's raising a lot more than what I need it to be. So in order to stop that from happening, all that we need to do is reduce the brush opacity. It reduces the brush's strength, and you can make changes rather easily and in a way that you feel is fine. Now I can reduce these like this, and you see that the effect is much more subtler now. Brush size controls the amount of area that you want to change, and brush opacity changes the strength of the brush. Say that I click this now, see the ridges are quite big now, but if I just reduce the strength a little bit, just a little bit, it makes a lot smaller ridges, and that makes all the difference really. Okay, so with that being taken care of, this is our first lecture over terrains, and I'll be seeing you in the next one, where we will be talking about how to create textures over terrains, how to basically paint a terrain, how to make it look more natural. For example, make mountains look more like mountains, because if you see it from far away, you'll be feeling that it looks more like a desert, a chalk desert of chalk. That's what it looks like, in my opinion. So how do you make it look more natural? In order to do that, we need to take care of a lot of things, and those things mostly involve textures. So I'll be seeing you in the next lecture. Till then, keep learning, keep playing with Unity. Bye bye.